My husband owned a giant dog, so huge it stood nearly as tall as a person. Ever since it saw me and my husband getting intimate, it couldn't take its eyes off me. One night, I dozed off drunk on the couch. That massive dog snapped its leash and started creeping toward me, step by step. Another afternoon, I was on my yoga mat, kneeling with my back arched and hips lifted high. I took a deep breath, holding the pose, feeling the pleasant burn through my core. Then, out of nowhere, something heavy pressed up against me from behind. It felt almost human, except it was covered in thick, coarse fur. My first thought was Ethan, my husband, but the next second, a wet dog nose nudged my forehead. Hot, stinky breath hit my face, followed by a slobbery tongue dragging across my nose. I snatched a dumbbell from nearby and swung it blindly behind me. I missed. Spinning around, I saw Max crouched a few feet away, those big, watery eyes locked on me. That was it. I'd had enough.
Ethan! Get in here!
I screamed toward the kitchen, where he was cooking. This was the third time Max had tried to mount me during yoga, ever since Ethan decided to get frisky where the dog could see.
What's going on, babe?
Ethan asked, rushing in with a towel in his hands.
I told you not to do that in front of Max. This is the third time he's pulled this crap. Either that dog goes, or I do.
Max was a massive breed Ethan had raised for 5 years. On his hind legs, he was taller than me. Let's be real. If Ethan wasn't home and that dog really wanted to overpower me, I wouldn't stand a chance. Ethan walked to the door, grabbed a feather duster, and started whipping Max hard. Max whimpered and curled into a ball, looking up with wounded eyes.
Don't worry, sweetheart. It won't happen again.
Ethan said through gritted teeth, putting his whole arm into each strike. He'd said the exact same thing the last 2 times. I just stared, silent. My mind was made up. It was me or the dog. Ever since those incidents, I flinched every time I walked past another dog on the street. Their owners looked at me like I'd already been violated by one. Finally, Ethan noticed I wasn't backing down. He stopped, frowned, and his lips pressed into a thin line. I held up my hand.
Don't give me that speech about how Max got youth through your darkest days. I don't want to hear it.
He closed his mouth, scratched his head, conflicted. That boyish face of his twisted with guilt. My heart softened a little. He was 5 years younger than me. A sweet puppy in public, but an animal between the sheets. I loved his passion, but sometimes I felt more like his big sister, especially when he looked so torn.
Fine. He can stay, but you have to get him neutered.
If he refused, I wasn't going to divorce him, but I was absolutely moving out until he figured out who mattered more. Max barked loudly. I glanced over. He was staring right at me. I wasn't even surprised he understood. Max was scarily smart. He fetched packages, helped carry groceries. Before I could say anything, Ethan smacked him across the snout with the duster. Max went quiet. When Ethan turned back, he was all smiles.
You're the best, honey. I'll take him to the vet right now.
He clipped on the leash and dragged Max toward the door. On his way out, Max shot me a look. Pure resentment. I glared right back. If it weren't for Ethan, I would have sold him to a dog meat truck and never looked back. I thought neutering would put an end to Max's little games. But 2 weeks later, I learned the hard way that a fixed dog can still bring a world of terror. I never imagined a neutered dog could still be capable of something like that. That night, I met up with some old friends from my childhood for drinks. Let's be real. Alcohol and sex go together like peanut butter and jelly. Some women might be too shy to admit it, but after a few drinks, I get hungry. On my way home, I called Ethan Anderson, hoping he'd wrap things up early and meet me back at the apartment. Ethan said he'd leave right away. No questions asked. He works in sales at a real estate firm, so his hours are pretty flexible. I did a quick mental calculation of how long it'd take him to get home from the office and headed straight to the bathroom for a shower. The warm water poured over me and my mind started wandering, right to Ethan's toned, athletic build. As I soaped up, my hand drifted slowly downward from my stomach. Just as my fingers were about to dip between my legs, a sudden chill shot through me.
Who?
A weird, prickling feeling like I was being watched. I spun around. Through the partly open door, I saw Max tied up near the cabinet. He was sitting perfectly still, chest puffed out, tongue hanging loosely, staring right at me with this intense, almost human focus. Alcohol does funny things to your brain. It magnifies everything, especially the ugly stuff. I've always been a little jealous of how much Ethan dotes on that dog. I know it sounds ridiculous, being jealous of a dog, but hey, aren't we all a little ridiculous sometimes? I walked over and pushed the door open a little wider before stepping back under the water. Then I locked eyes with Max, gave him a slow, teasing look, and let my hands wander right in front of him. The whole time, Max grew more and more restless. He stood up, started pacing in tight circles, and let out a series of sharp, frustrated barks. "You like what you see, boy? Come and get it, you dirty dog," I whispered, crooking my finger toward him. I turned around, struck a pose, and half lay back on the tile floor. Behind me, Max's barking grew more frantic. I heard the clank of his chain pulling taut. When I glanced back, his eyes were bloodshot, straining toward me, leash stretched to its limit. I laughed. A dark, vengeful thrill rushed through me, but it still wasn't enough. After my shower, I didn't even bother with underwear. I wrapped myself in a thin, almost see-through towel and walked out. In the full-length mirror in the living room, my silhouette showed clearly through the damp fabric. The towel barely covered my thighs. One wrong move and everything would be on display. I didn't go to the bedroom. Instead, I sprawled halfway across the couch, facing Max, who was only about 3 meters away. The angle of the sofa meant he had a perfect view straight between my legs. He barked wildly, drool dripping from his mouth. I narrowed my eyes, my body tensing slightly. From a distance, through my tipsy haze, I hadn't noticed earlier. But up close, I could see Max was excited. I thought Ethan had him neutered. How was this even possible? But instead of scaring me, it only fueled me. This was perfect. Let him want what he can't have. I planned to keep teasing him a little longer, but the hot water had intensified the alcohol, and my eyelids grew heavy. After fighting it a few times, I finally let my eyes close. I drifted in and out of consciousness, eventually rolling onto my stomach facing the door, thinking how irresistible I'd look when Ethan walked in. But what happened after I fell completely asleep left me with psychological scars that took 6 months to fade. Max circled twice in place, then turned and bit down on his collar. It was a buckle-style clasp, already loose from all his thrashing earlier. With one strong tug, it came completely undone. He paused for a second, feeling the freedom. Then he looked at me. He didn't rush. He just stared for a full minute. After that, he crept toward me like a predator. Low, silent, tense. When he reached the couch, he let out 2 low, guttural growls. I didn't stir. Max gripped the edge of the towel with his teeth and slowly pulled it away. My bare skin glowed under the light like soft tofu. One last bark, and then he leaped. Once his body completely blocked the living room camera's view, I muffled a gasp and pulled my phone away. A tidal wave of emotions crashed over me. Hurt, misery, raw disgust. Just outside on the balcony lay Max's lifeless body. Beside me, Ethan was relentlessly slapping his own face.
This is my fault! All my fault! All my fault! All my fault!
He'd rushed home as soon as I called, but got caught in awful traffic. By the time he got here, he saw Max on top of me. Blind with rage, he beat him until he was gone. Ethan's face was already red and swollen. I couldn't take it anymore.
Stop! Don't do this to yourself! Please!
I reached out and grabbed his hand. I didn't know who to blame.
Ethan, do something!
Get away from my wife!
It's not stopping!
From that day on, the nightmares began. Every time I closed my eyes, I relived what I saw in that footage. It took me 6 long months to slowly claw my way back from that horror. Throughout it all, Ethan was my rock. He helped me move to a new apartment. He drove me to every therapy appointment. Whenever I jerked awake at night, trembling and breathless, he was already up, holding me, whispering that I was safe. What touched me most was how patient he was with me, physically. Before we got married, and even after, he'd always had a strong drive. I still remember one time when we were out shopping. I tried on a dress, and he got so turned on, he pulled me into the fitting room right then. But these past 6 months, even after my therapist told me a month ago that I was ready to move forward, he never pushed, never even hinted. He even deleted every female contact from his social media, just to help me feel secure. Tonight, I decided it was time to leave the past behind. Just as I made up my mind, Ethan walked through the door. He was carrying groceries in both hands, sweat beading on his forehead. He looked exhausted. I went straight to him, wrapped my arms around his neck, and pressed close.
Hey, you're back.
I kissed his cheek, then leaned in toward his lips. He stiffened, pulled back slightly. Sweetie, I've still got the groceries," he mumbled. I tried again, brushing my lips against his, but his stayed shut, tense. He resisted almost unconsciously. My heart sank. Does he actually despise me now? Because of what happened with Max? The thought made me lean back, keeping a foot of space between our faces. I was just about to say something when I felt his arm slide around my waist. His kiss was aggressive, invasive, and that long-lost passion pulled me right under. We moved from the living room all the way to the bed.
Baby, I've missed you so much.
I looked up at Ethan, eyelids heavy, and let my legs fall open, ready for him. But nothing happened. After a few seconds, I saw him frown. Then his expression shifted into something awkward. Uncomfortable, I glanced down.
Maybe it's just been too long?
I offered gently. I'd heard that could happen after a dry spell.
Stay still, honey.
I gave him a playful smile and sat up. I placed my hands on his hips and lowered my head, bringing my mouth to him. But after what felt like forever, nothing I did made a difference. He stayed exactly the same.
I'll go to the hospital tomorrow. Get it checked out.
He said the words like he was disappointed, but I didn't feel any real sadness in his tone. If anything, he sounded relieved. He kissed my forehead, pulled his clothes back on, and headed toward the kitchen. Maybe it was my imagination, but his movements seemed rushed. His steps were too quick, too long, like he was escaping something, like he was fleeing me. I stared at the closed bedroom door, my mind blank. Was he dealing with some kind of psychological block too? After all, seeing your wife with a dog would mess with anyone's head. But the more I replayed what just happened, the less it felt like dysfunction. It felt like exhaustion, like he'd already spent himself. Had Ethan been with someone else? When I walked out, he was busy in the kitchen. His phone was left on the coffee table. I'd never snooped through his phone before, never even knew his passcode. But if he was cheating, the evidence would be there. I picked up his phone and slid my own phone case onto it, a quick trick. Then I walked into the kitchen.
Honey, my phone's not turning on.
Pointing his phone right at his face. The screen lit up, unlocked. I pulled it back before he could even notice. Oh, never mind. It's working now. Ethan didn't suspect a thing. I hurried back to the bedroom and started digging. I scrolled through his contacts. All guys. Their chats were either work stuff or casual friend talk. I opened the profiles of the two he talked to most. Real accounts, real guys, no hidden female side profiles. Maybe I was wrong. After dinner, we showered and got back into bed. This time, Ethan initiated, and he was functional. But instead of feeling relieved, a cold weight settled in my chest. It only proved one thing. He must have been with someone else before he came home. That's why he had nothing left for me. The next day, I tailed Ethan right after he left for work. His office was in one of those sleek, glass-walled buildings. I camped out all day at the cafe across the street, sipping lukewarm coffee and keeping my eyes glued on him. Aside from some professional back and forth with female clients, everything seemed completely normal. I kept up my discreet watch over the next few days. Still, nothing. No shady meetups, no suspicious texts, nothing. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe I'd let my imagination run wild. That had to be it. Just as I was about to call off my little stakeout operation, I got a new WeChat friend request. The notification said it came through Ethan's shared contact. The profile photo was a shot of some seriously toned abs. Figuring it was one of Ethan's gym buddies or coworkers, I hit accept. The moment I added them, a picture popped up. It was Ethan, completely naked, sprawled across a hotel bed. Before I could even process it, a voice message came through. Over a minute long, I pressed play. First, the rustling of clothes. Then Ethan's voice, breathy and trembling.
I've missed you so much.
My whole body went cold. It was a recording, and it was clearly leading up to something intimate. But what rocked me even more was this. Ethan wasn't with a woman. He was with a man.
Easy there, big guy. Tell me something first. Who's better, me or that old hag?
The man's voice was deep, but there was something artificially sweet in his tone that made my skin crawl.
Are you serious? You. Always you. Now turn over.
Then came 30 seconds of grunting, heavy breathing, and sounds I didn't want to imagine. I was gripping my phone so hard, my knuckles turned white. My head was spinning. Another voice message. This one was longer.
Wait, are you for real? You haven't touched her in 2 months? Why would I make that up? Just looking at her makes me sick. Chasing her in that first month married? Pure torture. How'd you even convince her? By saying you were sick? Wanna know? Come closer, I'll tell you. Ugh, you're the worst.
More noises followed before the guy pressed again.
Okay, but seriously, how?
Hey, remember my dog Max?
Yeah.
Well,
What Ethan said next sent a violent shudder through my whole body. That day, Ethan deliberately showed Max our private life. He even trained Max to run and jump on me whenever I was on all fours. And that time, I got so mad, I threatened to neuter Max. He just took him out for a walk and came back with a dog all wrapped up in bandages. Like nothing ever happened.
Wait, she actually let Max mount her?
Nah, not really. I drugged Max's food back then, but come on. He's a dog. He's not into people. The video I showed that old lady was edited. I made it look real.
She totally bought it, though. Thought she'd been kicked by a dog. Sank into deep depression. After that, I didn't have to touch her anymore. Ethan, you're something else.
Thud. My phone slipped right out of my hand. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It took me a solid minute to pull myself together and pick the phone back up. But when I tried to video call him, a notification popped up. Please add friend to start video call. He'd blocked me again. Luckily, the recordings and screenshots were still saved. That night, when Ethan got home, I shoved the evidence right in his face.
Let's make this clean. We're getting divorced tomorrow.
Baby, this has to be a joke. You know how much I love you.
I cut him off with a sharp wave of my hand. The proof was right there. I didn't want to hear another word. Ethan hurling his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall.
Fine! You want a divorce? Then we're getting a divorce.
He dropped onto the couch opposite me.
How are we splitting the assets?
It took me a second to process what he'd just said. So that's what this was really about. All this time, he was just after my money. How pathetic. I actually thought I'd finally found a man who truly loved me.
You get nothing. And just so you know, I've got backups of those recordings.
Ethan burst out laughing.
You really think a couple of audio clips are enough to hold up in court?
His words hit me hard. He was right. If he denied everything, those recordings alone might not be enough to prove infidelity.
I have a witness.
I shot back, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The guy who sent me those messages clearly wanted me to leave Ethan, but would he actually testify? Ethan lit a cigarette and crossed his legs.
Listen, Emily, if you want a clean break, give me half. Otherwise, we're stuck like this forever.
This man sitting across from me was a complete stranger. Nothing like the gentle, caring husband I thought I knew. But did he really think I'd spent over 30 years of my life without learning how to fight back? That same night, I packed my bags and left. The next day, with help from a lawyer friend, I filed a lawsuit. But it wasn't for divorce. It was for assault. My witness was my therapist. During our sessions, Ethan had been in the room multiple times when she asked questions about what happened. Without realizing it, he'd admitted to using the dog as a tool to assault me. Combined with the recordings, it was enough. The court found Ethan guilty and sentenced him to 3 years in prison. Right after that, I filed for divorce. With his criminal record, the process was quick and final. I didn't hear about Ethan again until 3.5 years later, when my friend Chloe called. Chloe's a content creator, always digging up wild stories.
Hey, Chloe, what's up?
Hey, remember your ex, Ethan Anderson? 2 guys got into a fight on the highway a few days ago and got hit by a car. One of them was named Ethan Anderson.
Yeah, I heard.
I said, putting her on speaker as I opened a chat window. At the top of the screen was a profile picture, a shirtless guy with toned abs.